In this Star Wars Outlaws news update video, I will be sharing with you some brand new details on the game, including whether there will be hairstyles, how long the game will take to complete, and so much more. But before we do get into all of today's news though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future news updates on Star Wars Outlaws. Let's get started with some interesting information regarding clothes, shops and more. In an interview with Video Games SI, a blacksmith and clothing shop were confirmed as one of the merchants that you'll be able to visit across the game's worlds. Now for how the character customization does work. So I've already mentioned this in previous videos, but this is an updated description. So Kay does have her own style and there'll be different gear sets. We already knew that there would be gear sets, but the developer goes on to say that you'll have a top part, the holster, the bottom part, and then you can mix and match. All of these gear sets will also have an impact on your statistics. So we use transmogrification for this. We already knew this. I've already mentioned this before, but basically, if you don't know what this is, you can basically select what your character looks like and then implement the gameplay changing values from other sets. So you still can look how you want whilst taking the benefits of various other items. Next up, let's talk about hair customization. So the developer was asked, can you change your hairstyle in the game? And they responded that, I think we are not going to spoil too much of the extent of customization, but for sure you will have clothing and you will have that kind of customization, meaning hairstyles it seems like. It's not entirely clear, but it seems that's what it's referencing because that was what the question was. Now this has changed since last year when I interviewed the game's director Julian Geraghty and narrative director Navid Kavari. They said there would not be hairstyle customization in the game, so that has been something that they've implemented later on, probably based on feedback because it has been something that many people have been requesting. We also learn about some new and unexpected ways to make money in Star Wars Outlaws. So what's really interesting is that you're actually going to be able to become a co-owner of a moisture farm on Tatooine, for example. There will be these side businesses that you are going to earn passive income from. The developers confirmed that, yes, you will be earning passive income from, say, co-owning a moisture farm on Tatooine. It's a tiny detail they wanted to integrate to give it a bit of flavour, and that's just one example of the various ways to make money, not just doing missions. How you acquire this moisture farm, basically, you can help someone who has gambled away their moisture farm, they've lost it in a bet, and if you go and get it back, then you can have a reward, like co-ownership. Now on to something very interesting regarding the game. So, in the past week for Ubisoft Forward, a bunch of games journalists got their hands on Star Wars Outlaws, and they have since put out previews of them playing about an hour of the game, 3 vertical slices of the game, just showing off the basic gameplay and such, to get a good idea of what it's like. But they also have done interviews with some of the leading developers such as the game director Julian Geraghty. These developers have revealed tons of new information about the game, and it's very, very exciting. So I have gone through most of the previews to pick out the really good stuff, the stuff that we haven't heard before. So in terms of game length and how long it will take to complete the story and 100% completion, Julian says that very, very early on, they decided that this was going to be a 25 to 30 hour Golden Path adventure, and then 50 to 60 hours for completionists. And that is for a guy with a family and a job, so it's still a fair amount of time. He follows this up by saying, but it's not an Assassin's Creed epic 200 hours worth of gameplay, so that gives us general focus and maybe with a smaller team on executing something that is manageable. Now this is all good news because I have seen plenty of people say that they don't want this to be 100 to 300 hour amount of gameplay required to complete stuff. It's large enough because it's 25 to 30 hours for the main story, which is a good amount of content, but if you really want to go all out and complete everything, it's not going to take 100 hours, it's going to take half that at, say, 50. This is in line with what Navid Kavari, the narrative director, did say last year about the game. He said it wasn't going to be like the usual Assassin's Creed games that Ubisoft do put out that do take, say, 200-300 hours to complete 100%. I was very much more into longer games, but in the past few years, my tastes have changed, and I definitely would prefer shorter games so I can experience more games. It isn't too long, it shouldn't overstay its welcome, but of course, you will be able to customise the difficulty to make it harder if you want to take more time. there's going to be tons of side content. You're not just going to go 100% just do the story without sort of getting distracted and doing other stuff. So I think what they're saying here is decent. In terms of compromises they have had to make, such as things they've removed from the game that didn't make it to the final version, Julian says that with The Division, Division 2 and Star Wars Outlaws, the vision has more or less been respected, so 95% of what they set out to do has been done. Some things have been added that they weren't expecting to do, a few things have been changed or removed, but very little. So what the idea for Star Wars Outlaws was is effectively what we are getting in August. An example of removed content is swimming. He goes on to say that in the first few iterations of the pitch we did, we would love to have had swimming. The animation team said that's not possible in terms of the scope of this game, so he said, okay, we can live without it, we'll do without it, there's plenty of other things that we can explore. And we do have a speeder bike that can actually travel over water, so I think that's probably where that compromise came in. As for the minigames that we just saw in the gameplay showcase, all of the minigames that we have in the game weren't actually planned for the game, so they were actually added during development, and that's just a little bit of the give and take of games development. Most of the previews from the journalists playing Star Wars Outlaws were pretty positive overall. There were some scathing reviews, I would say, that said it was too much like Uncharted, but some people really like Uncharted. It's a very popular series, so I think it's not necessarily a bad comparison. In terms of the gameplay demo people actually got though, Julian said that I think coming into a show like this, while you are closing a game in terms of its production, you have a lot of choices to make, and our producer was like, you can get one demo for all of the shows that we are going to during the year, so Gamescom, Comic-Con, etc., which is interesting because that confirms Star Wars Outlaws will be at Gamescom and San Diego Comic-Con again this year, so that's very exciting. Obviously the game does release in August, and Gamescom and Comic-Con is not too far away from release, but still. Julian also goes on to say that this demo was consumer plus journalist focused, so we had to choose something that was, say, 20 minutes bite-sized, lots of variety, lots of representative systems, but not the open world experience, because we are going to expose that during our studio tour in the preview event over there. So there is actually going to be what appears to be a studio tour for journalists and such, with a preview event just before the game comes out to really show off what this game has to offer. Probably will happen before reviews start to get written. Now on to some details regarding how Star Wars Outlaws connects to earlier parts of the Star Wars timeline. So according to Dexerto, who did go hands-on with the game, they found a note that mentioned Nile Marauders, and in case you don't know, these are the main enemy at the time during the High Republic era content, when Kay escaped a ship that was crash landing on a planet, and it exploded into pieces all across the surface. According to Navid Kavari, the game's narrative director, this ship is from the High Republic era, so that confirms there will be High Republic content within this game. Navid goes on to say that it's something that's exciting about Tashara. It is something that we was able to construct ourselves. The moment we landed on the idea of Tashara having this powerful wind that sort of draws ships to crash in, we were like, we need to have a High Republic ship. I'll probably leave it at that. There's going to be some more details coming. So that is a very nice teaser that sets us up for even more secrets to be discovered in the coming months when the game does release. I know many people are big fans of Nyx, and I just wanted to mention that you can now win a Nyx plushie on the Star Wars Outlaws social media channel. So they've put out this competition. They are giving away 5 Nyx plushes along with the Star Wars Outlaws steelbook and stickers. So be sure to enter that if you haven't already. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything I've talked about in this video. So please do let me know down in the comment section below. And remember to drop a like to help support the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss any future news updates on this game. And I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.